Hi, I'm Christy. I want to talk to you today about SSI income. So we finally reached the last piece of the puzzle in this transition series. Now, for me, it's been the most intimidating, and that's SSI, or Supplemental Security Income. Now, I should pause here and state I have no professional experience with SSI. I applied once years ago for AJ, and that's about the extent of it. So the information that I have here is mostly from the Social Security website itself. Now, I have talked to a couple professionals who work with SSI on a regular basis. I've talked to a couple caregivers who have been approved for their loved one the first time out. But as always, I would say I really would recommend that you confirm the information that you have is accurate and correct, especially for your situation. Now, this is one of the areas that seems to be the most confusing and in some ways almost secretive about how it works and if you would qualify or not. And I don't know, it's just kind of hush-hush about it, it seems like a lot of times. So I'm hoping to remove some of that secrecy and some of that confusion today. Our experience is that when AJ was younger, we applied for SSI and were immediately denied because our household income was too high. Now, it's possible, I can't remember for sure, but I think they may have just looked at our household income and said, nope, you're not going to get it, and not even accepted our application. I don't remember for sure. We accepted that and moved on. But now that AJ is an adult, I've known I need to apply for him again because he can qualify on his own. But like I said, this one just intimidates me so badly. So I procrastinated and stalled a lot. And it doesn't help that I've heard a lot of stories about people being denied, or they've had to appeal, or it's hard to be approved, or you're almost never approved the first time out. That just has added to my intimidation. This summer, I had a meeting with a gal who works with the disabled and has a fair amount of experience with SSI. And she told me things like, if you call at the beginning of the month, plan to be on hold forever because everybody's calling in then. And if you're on hold too long, they'll just hang up on you. Or she told me, no, you can't have any income. If he's going to get a job, he can't work and have SSI. So I walked away from that appointment even more overwhelmed and intimidated. Well, I met a caseworker, or I talked with a caseworker from another organization, and she gave me a baby step to do. She's like, yes, you need to apply. Here, I want you to go to the SSI website, or the Social Security website, and print out the application. Ooh, I can do that. That's not so intimidating. So I did. And then I started digging around the Social Security website. And as I sat down to write this script, I had 12 tabs open for different things on the Social Security website that I used to put this together. Now, I should say, I still haven't officially applied. I'm still intimidated by this whole thing. But it's on the game plan, it's on my radar, and I'm really working to get that applied within the next month or so. So what exactly is SSI? From their website, quote, SSI makes monthly payments to people who have low income and few resources and who are age 65 or older, blind, or disabled. Okay, so that would explain why income plays such a critical part in the application process. Now, I found a publication that says, note, disabled or blind children whose parents have little income or resources may be eligible for Supplemental Security Income benefits as well. The basic SSI amount is the same nationwide. Many states, however, add money to the basic benefit. You can call us to find out the amounts for your state, end quote. Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, it says that SSI pays the same amount across the country. It's a federally funded program, so it is available in every state, and the approval process is the same across the country. Now, obviously, if your state adds money to the basic benefit, that part will vary from state to state. So the million-dollar question is this: will my loved one qualify? Well, once again, I've heard many stories about people not being approved the first time out. And sometimes it almost seems like just plan on not being approved the first time out. But I've talked to a couple caregivers whose loved ones were approved first time out right around the time they turned 18. So over on my blog, I have a whole bunch of links to all of these different things I'm going to talk about. You can find that at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted in January of 2019. One of the first links I have is for a checklist for online adult disability application. It's a one-page document that breaks down the process. And as I glanced through it, it looked like it was really going to help take away some of my overwhelm and some of my confusion. Now, I should say some of the information that you'll need is not easy to get, but at least you know exactly what they're looking for. There's also a link for an adult disability starter kit. Now, this is a 6-page document that gives a really good idea of what to expect during the whole application process. Here's a quote from it. "You can cut your interview time in half by starting the process online. You still need to keep your scheduled appointment with the local Social Security office so a representative can review your information," end quote. Okay, so this is good to know because I was trying to figure out, do I just do it all online now or how does it work? So I was really glad to see that quote. Now, there's a link in there for if you need, for what you need for the application and what the process is like. There's a link for specifically how to qualify for SSI. There's also a link that lists the impairments that they look at for an adult. And then on the adult page, there's a link to the left for kids. And these links are really comprehensive and really long. But as I was digging through them, I found one of AJ's diagnoses specifically listed. And so it's helping me start to see what I need, or it shows me that they will accept this disability for approval. And so I need to get confirmation of that. As I was reading through this section on that diagnosis, I discovered 2 other diagnoses that he has. So again, if I can get the medical documentation for them, it looks like we can get him approved first time out, which again is making this look a little bit more doable and a little bit less intimidating. Now, actually applying. Well, there's a process to apply online link in the blog that will help walk you through it. When you're ready to actually take the plunge, there's a link to actually start the application process. You'll also need to schedule an appointment with your local Social Security office to complete and submit your application. Now, one of the pieces of advice that I was given, and it was given to me several times in one conversation, was to make sure that I keep a copy of every single document that I submit, as well as getting in writing something with the date stamped on it as proof of acceptance of the application. And this can be critical when you're trying to prove the date that you applied, because they will back pay you to the date of your original application if there are no lapses during your application process. Now, everything that I'm reading says the application process takes about 6 to 9 months, so it's not a quick process. But again, you can receive back pay back to the date that you applied. Now, if you are denied, you can file an appeal. There's a link in there about how to do that. Now, the sources that I've talked to say, again, it takes an additional 6 to 9 months. And you have to make sure that you file that appeal within a specific time period to keep your application active. Now, if the appeal is denied, then you can request a trial. Again, this can take over 9 months to get a trial date, and you have to apply within a certain time frame to keep your application active. So if you have to go through all of these different steps, it can take upwards of 3 years to be approved. Now, again, I'm encouraged that I've heard of some who have had their loved ones accepted first time out. But I did find a publication, there's a link in the website, that walks you through the appeal process. It's a 2-page document. It breaks it down a little bit differently, so obviously I would trust what Social Security itself says, but that's kind of the idea. So here's a couple of suggestions I have if you still need to apply. One, I would go over to that blog and I would spend some time with those links in the post. This will help give you an idea of how you need to proceed and what kind of information you'd need. Again, like the recommendation I was given, keep a copy of every single document that you submit with your application. This makes it easier to answer questions if anything comes up in the future, as well as proving that you've submitted it with your original application. I'd also make sure that you receive something in writing with the date that you submitted your application. So again, this can be critical in proving the date your application started. If you do have to go to the appeal or a next level, you need to make sure that you file within the allotted time. If you miss it, then you have to start the process over, and that starts your start date all over again. The other thing I would say is don't be afraid to follow links and click on different links within the website itself. I was amazed at how much information I was able to find just by following links and, ooh, this looks good, ooh, that's kind of interesting. And like I said, I had like 12 tabs open at one point. So, lots of information is out there if you're willing to spend the time. The final thing I would say is don't let any horror stories you hear intimidate you. This is something that I am very guilty of. And it has delayed my application and my wanting to get into this by I don't even know how much, because I've been so intimidated by it. So I'm taking a deep breath and I'm jumping in and I'm hoping to get this done soon. And that would be my recommendation to you. Think positive, figure out what you need to do, and jump in with both feet. So my question for you is this. Have you applied for SSI for your loved one? What was the process like for you? Were you approved the first time? Would love to hear your experience, especially if it was a positive one and if you were approved the first time out. You can leave me a comment below, or you can leave me a comment over on my blog. I'd also appreciate it if you'd share this with anybody that you think would find it helpful. I'd love to help as many families as I can. Over on the website, you can sign up for my email list. This will make sure that you find out about all the pieces in this transition process, as well as all new content as it's released. I do my best to only send out things that I think you'll find helpful, informational, and useful. I am so grateful to have finally reached the last milestone in this process, and I'm hoping that it's a relatively painless one, just like so many of the others have. Because as always, life is good, and there is never a dull moment.